Let me do our
Um,
quick little intro. So I totally forgot it. I got so excited. So welcome everyone to Ready, Set, Action. You are joining Debra Horowitz and myself, Kristina Witmer. The Ready, Set, Action is a powerful tip-packed uh, live stream. So we hope you learned some stuff. Today we're going to get back to the basics a little bit, why marketing is essential for sustainable business growth. And I will share some things that I've learned, some painful things I've seen, and hopefully you get some stuff so you can make a move for yourselves this year. So here we go. Welcome, Deb. Good to see you.
it's great to see you too, Kristina. And I think that, it's a new year, but getting back to basics is
Mm-hmm.
really, a great way to kick a year off, right? Just making sure that we haven't gone too far off the deep end or chased too many shiny baubles around, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
Yep,
and so I'm looking forward to our conversation today.
for sure. So I will start, and I'll just, before I share sort of one sort of segment of this, I will just say that I have seen it's as I've grown as a business owner, and especially as my sales process has grown, I've started to identify the goods and the bads and the challenges with working with clients to elevate their business and support their sales. And I've started to see some common themes of things that maybe won't work. And as much as I love to help people and dive in, there are some situations where it is so much more challenging. And so that's what I want to share a little bit of. So I have noticed a pattern over the last, I'll say maybe 5 years, where some people come to me and they're panicked. They are already to this extreme, fearful, painful point where sales isn't where it needs to be. And so, what happens is when you start your business, you've got friends, connections, networking, family, all these things, but eventually that bubble meets its limit, right? You can only sustain that so much. But what happens is if you don't start marketing early when you have that, that's the best time you have to start marketing is take tiny percentage of whatever you've got. It's $100, take $5, like whatever it really is, and put it into marketing because you will need to get through that bridge where you need to go beyond your group. And so if you wait too long and you're in that panic mode, it's so much more difficult to do marketing because you're in more of a desperate sales place. And desperation doesn't even, you can smell it, you can see it, you can feel it. People don't like it. So it's harder to market with confidence and an educational mindset when you're in that state. So I just say that to people is that really whatever, take a percentage of whatever you have, and it may not be much, but it will, as a percentage, it's going to grow, right? So you're always putting money into something that's sustainable. So that just came to mind as something why you've really got to think about it. Branding, who you are, all that kind of stuff. So, it's a lifeline of your business success. So I know
Yeah,
you're on your
yeah.
own journey there. So,
It's so true, and it's so necessary. It is the foundation
mhm,
for a successful organization is to be able to understand how to market them, their product, their services, and then to begin to build on a strategy
right.
that's going to be sustainable over time. And I know sustainability is like the key element you're going to focus in on today.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Because I mean, it's just, it's very much like relationship building and dating and things like that. There's a lot of nuances to marketing that you have to be, you have to be confident and not, you just have to operate from a place of comfort and knowing yourself. And so that's sort of the first segment is really what is marketing? What is it to your business? And so there's core components that you have. So one is market research, right? At some point, hopefully you've done different things to identify market research. Well, you need to understand as best you can the research, the segments of customers that you're working for, your brand, how do you reach them, what impacts them, and what messages are you sharing to them. So that whole section of understanding your market is huge, because what happens is early on you tend to sort of make a lot of assumptions because you have a client or you have a couple clients. You make a lot of assumptions on who they are, what they need, and then later, could be 10 years down the road, you start to see these patterns. Well, the more research you can do up front, the more you're going to understand who these people are earlier. It's going to help save you money in the long run, because all business lessons learned are usually costly lessons. It's time, or it's money, or it's something, right? So anything that you can learn up front. So do the research, find out, is this audience growing? How much do they spend on things? You can find a lot of information through AI tools, through LinkedIn tools. You can find a lot about businesses and really start to segment your messaging. So then you start talking about, what you're saying to them. The more you talk to a single group earlier, the better you'll use your money long term. So this marketing, what you want to do is you want to start hitting the message and staying on message and really showing how you create value for these people. So prospective customers, you can show them how you create value. You can start looking at newsletters and other tools to communicate and start actually giving value while you help your own clients with larger and more, intensive projects and things like that. So, and I'll just say a few misconceptions about marketing. It's only for big companies, just crazy. That maybe $1 million budgets are only for big companies, but that's not. This is how you use your dollars. So, if you had a very small budget and someone focused on your Google My Business and your LinkedIn presence, that's marketing, and that could be very helpful to you as you set the stage for what you're doing, what your business is doing.
Yeah, that's very true. And you can look at what can you do for free, right? If you don't have that big budget when you're starting, there's so many ways to get the word out. And like you said, LinkedIn, just, if you're, or Facebook, depending on who your audience is, those can be great free sites that you're just going out there and you're just creating a presence for yourself with with really no dollar investment. It's more time investment, right?
Mm-hmm.
So talk to us for a minute about time versus money investment and how to juggle that so that we don't go too far down a rabbit hole.
Yeah, I think that's a great comment about, the time versus money. So I think when you're starting a business, you have so many hats, right? And you literally could have a wall of hats and you're swapping them out. So one of the answers to that question is really going to depend on how comfortable you are with that. So, because let's say accounting, bookkeeping, all of these different things that you need to do, the more it gives you angst and discomfort and stress, like it just doesn't feel good, the more you're going to fight it, even though you may not realize you're fighting it all the time. Like you're going to fight it and it's going to slow down everything. So at first though, you need to get comfortable with, I love working with freelancers, especially early on as a small business, because find a writer, find someone who's just not you, who can say, hey, I'll write your intro paragraph about who you are. I'm going to ask you a few questions. I'll write you like the description of your company, the about us page. Like have someone help you with that, because you got to get out of your own head. You're going to overthink that stuff way too much. Tell someone who your target is, what you are, and why you care about what you do, and have them help you with these things. Then you can do it yourself. Take these things and put them places, right? Put them on your Google business, put them on your website. So you don't need to outsource all these things, but you do need help along the way. If you're a writer, well, maybe that is something you do, but I guarantee you will overthink it still. and you'll be hurting yourself from a financial perspective. So I say bring people in for those things so you can move. But Google My Business. That's one of my favorites. LinkedIn, especially if you're in a B2B space. If you're in a B2C space, you just look, is it TikTok? Is it Instagram? Like really think about where that audience is. That goes back to the market research. So,
Yeah.
sustainable growth is going to be long lasting, right? So the best part too is having someone like a writer or someone help you do some of these things. These are relationships that you can build, and you're not alone, right? It's just so nice to do that. And I would always say that if you look at the dollars of what it's going to cost someone to spend an hour to help you, at some point you have to say yes to that, or you're not going to grow. You just won't be able to do everything. And I also, like you sort of hinted at, like there's a lot of community stuff you can do, right? So really, when it comes to the free things, think about what helps you on multiple fronts, right? So community things could be about a group you're part of, a sports team that's a local thing, like, kids sport, like it could be whatever, depending on your audience. And really, you're getting some branding, you're practicing your message, you're building your network, and these people tend to be, they care, they appreciate that kind of stuff, so it'll be very much reciprocal. So that's something I think is looking at that sustainability of it. Whatever you do, just keep doing something. And another thing you can do too is to say, okay, every Friday morning I will spend 2 hours on marketing. And what does that mean to you? Is it about posting? Is it about looking for new things? It is about working on your copy. Is it about creating a little video? Like, give yourself some time that is only that. And you're going to have to shut, some things off your email probably so that you can focus on that.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think when I first started my business, I was spending way too much time on like Facebook and Instagram and going down that rabbit hole of spending more time than I should have.
Right.
A lot of it was what I considered market research at the time, right?
Mm-hmm.
Learning about what were people putting out there that was important to them,
Right. Mm-hmm.
so that I could develop the personas and things of that nature. But I think I just overstayed my welcome on those sites every
Mm-hmm.
day and wasn't using my time effectively.
Yeah.
But then when I started blocking time, like you're saying, and limited myself, so
Mm-hmm.
it wasn't like I was, looking at those sites for hours every day.
Mm-hmm.
And then also being purposeful when I was on those sites in terms of maybe sharing more content than consuming the
Right.
content.
Right. Right. And that
You
sounds
know?
like you knew some of your, like, that's where when you choose how you spend your time or who might help you, you have to be aware of your own tendencies. Like if you enjoy getting lost in some of that, or you that's maybe fine for Saturday morning with coffee, but when you're trying to do so many things in a day, you've got to reel that in. So that, even for me, that would be something where I say, okay, this, whenever I can afford it, this is going to be one of the first things that I outsource or ask somebody to help me with, because this is draining my energy. It's not, I feel tired when I'm done, that kind of stuff. So that's where that helps me create that list of, okay, what kind of help do I need? Because eventually you're going to have it's hard to find great people, but you got to find people who can do a couple things usually for you, or they're their business owner and that they do something specific like writing or bookkeeping or whatever it is. So I totally
Yeah.
get that. So how
And
much
I think
time you
to
on
that
social
point
media
too,
now? I'm just curious.
I'm very calculated with how much time I spend on it now. Very calculated.
Good.
And I do a lot of, pre-publishing, so it's all set up in the system and ready to go for me. And then I don't have to spend as much time
Mm-hmm.
on
Mm-hmm.
each site. Um, shoot, I lost my train of thought with that. And I think that a lot of times you hit on a point for me is fearful of who you engage with, right? And
Mm-hmm.
how you're assessing them and things of that nature. But know that ultimately that control rests still in your hands. You're not giving up the control.
Mm-hmm.
You're just giving up the tasks
Yeah.
that are the building blocks to that piece of
Mm-hmm.
ultimately you're making the decision. They'll come back to you, bring those postings back to you for your approval, or
Right.
you'll be able to see what the bookkeeper is doing in your QuickBooks,
Yeah.
or whatever it is, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that ultimately, if you're not happy with the way that relationship is going, you're not forced to continue it. But I
Yeah.
think that can
Sure.
be a stopping point for some people, right? Is that, oh
Yeah.
my gosh, I don't know anybody that does that, so therefore
Mm-hmm.
I don't feel comfortable relinquishing the control,
Yeah.
right? But
Mm-hmm.
to your point, you have to. So you have to figure out a way to get past that.
Yeah. And bookkeeping is a little different because there's not much room for error or mistakes there. But when it comes to social media, I mean, you can't, I mean, you got to let someone learn you and the business a little bit. So you cannot, I mean, I would give them as much description and information as possible. But if something happens that you just like, I wouldn't have said it like that. You got to either let it go or correct it in an educational way, right? But some things are not worth the energy that you're putting into it. So you've got to stay tied to what the value is. Like a lot of, unfortunately, the value sometimes with social is someone seeing you do something and they don't really know much more than that. They didn't read your 3 paragraphs, right? Maybe some did, but I'm just saying a lot of people might not have. So make sure you put appropriate value to those things too. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So, some of the key strategies at an early stage, and they continue to be important, is some of the things we sort of hit on here. So, content marketing is one of the top, and that is, I recommend, so we'll talk about 4 different approaches that I think you should start from the very beginning. So, one is content marketing, one is social media marketing, one is influencer marketing, and we'll talk about what that means in a B2B or other space, and then cause marketing, right? So those are the 4 components I think it's important to have at the beginning. And you may not weight them equally, right? Or you may rotate your efforts week to week. So you're only giving 1 to 2 hours, whatever you have, you're going to sort of shift on, hey, what can I do here? But content marketing, right? So whether it's monthly or more frequently, create some content that's a little bit meatier and of more value for your audience, right? This could be monthly, right? The cool part about monthly is once you write something, it could be a blog, it could be an article talking about something you read recently, it could be about a client experience, right? It's kind of case study, but it's more of a casual format. It could be about what you've learned over time with this business. So something that's more substantial, 500 words or so, go longer if you have it, get your own screenshots if you haven't. Like try to create something that's really is valuable for someone that might want to work with you, or maybe they're not quite ready for you. Maybe in 3 months, if their business grows, they will be. So think earlier in the, so you can sort of, have that lead line start to, to get created, but create something valuable for them. And then once that's done, there are so many places you can put that. You can put it on your website in a blog structure or in a case study, depending how it is. Put it on LinkedIn in the newsletter categories. You can email that out to your followers. I don't care if it's 5 on your email list, do it. You can send it manually. If there's only 5, you can use any kind of MailChimp, HubSpot platform if there's more. Get in the habit of sending out something monthly, because I'm telling you, this is another area where you overthink it. You just were like, oh, they don't care about what I have to say. Just do it. Send it to 2 people, send it to 5 people. Just get in the habit that that is what you do, and then go from there. So once you do that, you've had this nice piece of content. You put it 4 different places. You can also put it on Google My Business. You can put it a lot of places, right? So then you have something you've done for content marketing. Then from that article, you shift to social media marketing. Oh, I wrote this awesome 500-word article about how to do something or how I experienced something. Pull 6 social media posts from it. You already wrote it. Take those 2 sentences from everywhere. These are chock full of ideas, right? And then put a picture, put your own self, whatever it is. Do that. Record yourself reading a paragraph. Like, just get creative. Just take that content and then make it into something that will work for you the entire month. Okay. So then we look at influencer marketing. So this is where you try to figure out, and there are companies who do influencer marketing. That's not my thing per se, but anybody that can help get you to a bigger audience is an influencer, right? So, we can use ourselves, for example, right, Deb? So you have a completely different audience, right? So when we collaborate on this kind of stuff, by its own nature, we're reaching different people. So I just think the more you can say, okay, someone I've worked with, a colleague, someone I met, whatever, how can I connect with them? How can I use a mutual audience to see if there's some momentum? So really think of influence marketing, not necessarily as the person on TikTok that's, selling something or, unboxing things. Really just think about it as other people who have a bubble that's not yours and what can overlap. And then the fourth part is cause marketing. So that's where you can really go local, you can go broad, look for opportunities. There's International Women's Month or something, right? And one time I found this Girls Who Code nonprofit, right? And it was international and things. And I thought, oh, that's really cool. I'm going to donate a small amount of money, and then I'm going to do a post saying I did, or that I care about this, and encourage other people to, right? So, that's just supporting and showing people what's important to you and using that for your own content too. So as a business owner, whatever you're doing, whether you're eating lunch with a friend or you just donated a small amount of something, these are all marketing and branding and messaging things that define you, which in turn defines your business. So that's kind of the summary. So I feel like that's a lot. If I'm thinking about restarting a business, I think it's a lot. So
no, it's a lot, but it's all necessary. And I think when you break it down into bite-sized pieces,
right,
and then also figure out how to stick it into your schedule.
Yes,
over the course of a week, and make it something that is repeatable,
right,
week after week, right? It really, it makes it much more easy to accomplish those things. I've learned that I'm getting more masterful at that myself, right? breaking that big goal down into all of these little pieces, it really builds your confidence, I think, as well.
Yeah.
And it puts you on a path for more sustainable success, because it becomes part of your routine then.
Yeah, I'm excited to hear about your journey with sort of blocking your time and doing certain things. It's always a struggle, but it's even just knowing that that's how I aim to be and that's how my calendar is structured, it helps me a lot. It really is helpful. I think the person I heard it from, the book that I read, he said that he would do coaching and help business owners to figure this out. And one thing he said, he would randomly ask them, hey, could you meet tomorrow or have a call tomorrow? Because I want to have some things I want to ask you, or I don't know, it was kind of vague. And he said if people said yes, he felt like they weren't getting it, like what his program was, because they had not properly blocked what they do, on their week. Like they were just willing to take a random call, disrupt their plans. And so I was like, oh, that's really interesting. You stick to it. This is the day that I do blank because it is that important. So I thought that was pretty interesting.
That is really, really fascinating to me. And I wonder if that writer, that author, would have any insight as to whether that was more prevalent for women or
Mm-hmm.
men,
Yeah, that'd be
you know?
interesting to see some trends.
Because
Yeah.
I really suspect that women
Mm-hmm.
would take that opportunity to put their needs aside
Yeah, that makes
and take
sense.
that call
Mm-hmm.
because of the nature of how we're just like programmed that way to not
Mm-hmm.
necessarily always prioritize
Yeah,
our priorities,
right. No, that makes a
you
lot
know?
of sense for sure. That would be interesting to see too. And I think it also, in some ways, when you're that available and willing to break everything, it's kind of lose respect a little bit too with, who you are as a business owner. So that's a really good point. So that's a really good point. So I just to recap real quick. I mean, I know it's a lot here, but really, we talked about the role of marketing in business, the research, the segmenting your customer, thinking about your messaging. The sooner you stay on task with that, the better your, year 5 is going to be for you. The better money will be spent, all those things. And then you look at, what does it look like to grow sustainably? How do you take a percentage of time and money early on to put into marketing so that you will have long, sustainable business growth? Marketing leads to sales, and you don't want to be in that panic mode of saying, nobody knows me. I've never even done anything. And suddenly you have to bust out and do, emails and all this stuff. And it's very uncomfortable, I think, for a lot of people and your audience. And then key strategies, right? Look at content marketing, look at social media marketing, influencer/network marketing, I'll call it. And then cause marketing. How does that become who you are a little bit closer? So, don't just, grow your business sustainably. Start early and start putting these little seeds in so you're not in a, sales panic mode in year 3 or whatever. So that's the scoop.
Well, thank you for bringing us back to basics
Yeah.
and, kind of slapping us back into reality for 2025.
Yeah. That happened for me Monday morning. So, yeah. So thank you all for joining us. I hope you'll join in next time for Ready, Set, Action with Debra Horowitz and Kristina Witmer. You can follow us on LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, and Spotify, and we will see you next week.